Hey, this is Taylor from White Ridge Heating and Air Conditioning. We're just doing a quick tutorial video on how to set up an Ecobee thermostat for Winnipeg, Manitoba. The reason we set up our thermostats differently than the rest of the world is we have very low electrical rates and very low natural gas rates. So our economic set point or balance point is about -8. So we can run our heat pumps to -8 and it'd be the same cost as using a high efficient natural gas furnace. Your goals as a customer might be different. You might be wanting to maximize your environmental impact. So we're going to set it deeper into the season. Some people want the least amount of maintenance, and we can do that all with setting up our heat pump. So just a look right now, it's -26. If we were to run our heat pump right now, it would be twice the cost at least of compared to a high efficient natural gas furnace. The heat loss of the house would be so high that we might even having performance issues having the heat pump heat the house. So we want to switch it over so the heat pump's not heating the heat pump right now, is not heating the house right now, but the high efficient natural gas furnace. Just to look really close is we have three different settings. Heat, that's the programming we're setting right now. So all our different switchover points and our differential temperatures, it's all going to be done if it's on heat. Cool is our air conditioning. Aux is auxiliary. So we don't want to use any of our programming for heating. We would set it to aux, so just a gas furnace. This is important for hybrid customers because we might get really cold in the season. So let's say it's late December. We get a week or two where it's always below -20. So the heat pump's never turning on. We don't want the heat, like we have a random warm day and the heat pump decides to go on for 2 hours. We don't want that because we don't know if there's been snow accumulation, ice accumulation. You can even think whenever we have warm weather usually means that there's snow coming. So we have a warm day, there's a bunch of snow. We'll never damage our heat pump because it does like a trial spin. It ensures that there's no ice or snow in the fan. If it hits any of that snow or ice, it's just going to lock out. And we're going to get some weird fluctuations, error codes and stuff on the thermostat telling us, yeah, the heat pump's not working properly. But we don't really want that. So what we suggest for the hybrid customer, especially if they're not maintaining their equipment, just set it to aux. Every season's different. My thought is when we get to that first big cold snap in December, maybe even January, switch it over to aux, and we're just going to run the gas furnace for the rest of the season. On the right there, this is our menu. If we hit the gear, we're going to go to our main settings menu. We want to hit settings again to get into the deeper settings, and then we want to get into installation settings. So this is going to be our main spot where we're going to change how our equipment's going to operate. If you want to verify your equipment is very similar to ours, we're just going to hit equipment and look at wiring. So these are all the wiring setups that we have. We have G, which is our fan, C, common, Y1 is our air conditioning, OB was our reversing valve. So Y1 and OB will cause the refrigerant to go the different direction, heating the house. RC is our power to the thermostat, and W1 and W2 is our two-stage heating. To adjust our heat pump settings, we're going to go to threshold. And I'm going to start with aux savings optimization just because it's going to demonstrate what's wrong with the Ecobee default settings to what we're going to do. That 1.6 is the temperature differential. So if the house was 20 degrees and it dropped more than 1.6 degrees, so 18.4, the auxiliary would turn on. If we had an electric furnace as our backup, this statement would be true. Keep indoor temperature within 1.6 degrees Celsius. Aux heat is expensive. We recommend using 1.6. So with auxiliary and it's below -8, it's actually cheaper. So this statement's only true when it's above -8. Um, Therefore, we want to set up the things that, um, like, so we'll just start with this one, not to make it too complicated. 1.6 I find nice because we still want to use our heat pump to lower our energy, to use our energy lows to be low, but also to decrease our carbon footprint. So if we were to turn up the temperature 2 degrees, that's the only time the gas furnace is going to turn on. Or let's say a lot of people come in the house, you're loading up groceries, the house gets really cold. It's going to take the heat pump quite a long time to raise the temperature 1.6 degrees. So the gas furnace is going to come on, get the temperature back to 20 in the house, and then it's just going to maintain again. So I like that 1.6. Also, the 1.6 will give us a little bit more of if there's something wrong with the heat pump or we have really long run times or any kind of issues that way, we might not notice if we have it set to 1.1 just because that threshold is getting really small. 1.6 gives us a little bit more of a buffer to so we would sense if maybe our heat times are really long, stuff like that. So the outdoor temperature, this aux heating, is that it's only going to use the heat pump if the temperature outside is 1.5. So I like that. Again, we want to maximize our environmental impact, right? We want to use as less of the gas furnace as possible to reduce that carbon footprint. So we're not ever going to even turn on the gas furnace. That 1.6 is disabled, that differential we are just talking about, and it's going to run to heat the house. At 1.5, the heat pump is going to have no problem heating the house under most circumstances. So if it can't heat the house at 1.5 degrees, we might have a different problem. We'll ignore that. That's more for an older unit. Compressor minimum outdoor temperature. This is where things get spicy. This is our main one. So you really have to look at what are your goals for your house. Again, we don't get -8 degrees Celsius on the thermostat. We get either 6.7 or 9.4. The reason why is because all these temperatures are in Fahrenheit, and when they convert over to Celsius, we don't get perfect numbers. So we can't choose -8, but we can. It's kind of nice in a different sense that if we choose -6.7, it's always cheaper to heat your house with the heat pump at 6.7 as the rates are today. 9.4, it might be, let's say, like 10% more expensive. It said if the whole season was like -9.4, your heating bill would be about $200 more for the whole season. So not an incredibly high difference, but it is going to be higher. And if that's your main focus is energy savings, I would choose the 6.7. So after 6.7, the gas furnace is going to run. It's always going to be more cost effective. Because that -8, right? Or very similar cost at even the -6.7. I like and I encourage customers to do the 9.4 if they're really focused on the budget, on the economic set points, balance point. The reason why is in the earlier part of the season, the -4, the -1, even the low 1 degrees, we're actually saving money on our heating bills because it's so efficient to heat the heat pump with the heat pump in the warmer temperatures. So we're getting a little bit of savings in this time of the year. So if we set it to 9.4, we're hoping if you're on a budget, like with your Manitoba Hydro heating bill, you're not even going to notice the difference. If we want to go really deep into the cold weather, we have some customers that want that balance point where what's the furthest we can go into the season that the heat pump could take over, and then we're looking for that balance point. Um, every house is different. Again, this is where this is nice. We can kind of fluctuate it, um, and we can get really deep in there. Let's say we want to max it out. So ours is rated for -30. Again, our weather data is never perfect from Environment Canada because we get it from the Forks where we are here. So let's say the temperature at the Forks is a little bit different than our temperature here. Well, that gives us a little bit buffer that we're never running our heat pump past -30. So we're a nice 28.9. This gets to, if we set it here and we want to run the heat pump as long as possible. We only want the gas furnace to take over if the temperature drops. That's getting into your savings optimization. So the only time our gas furnace is going to turn on is if our temperature in our house drops below 1.6 degrees. And really cool, really good for the environment. We're lowering our carbon emissions as much as we can. But you're going to understand that 1.6 degrees, even though 1.1 degrees, is some quite big differentials. So you're going to have some huge swings in your temperature in your house, because more likely than not, your heat pump, if it's air to air heat pump like this one, it's not going to be able to heat the house at minus 28.9. Yeah, so those are probably the biggest ones we're always looking at. We're not going to have to go too deep into these to do with the heat pump. So um, just to recap, minus 28.9, yeah, you're doing a lot for the environment, but you might have some crazy fluctuations. If you want to do, you won't notice it on the bill, more likely than not. 9.4, as long as the heat pump can keep up. If you want always your best savings, do 6.7. I have a third one that we encourage customers not to do. We call them the maintenance free version. When the heat pump's running and it's cold outside, it's going to form ice underneath the heat pump. If you run your heat pump at like 1.7, the chances of it forming ice are very low. So if somebody is they like the heat pump, yeah, on the off season when it's warm out, yeah, they're going to use the heat from outside. It's cheaper. It doesn't burn any gas. 1.7, you're just going to have way less maintenance, way less to check outside. Don't do that just because there might be some situations. Maybe you have an injury and you can't maintain it. Yeah, and we still want to do the environmental thing. Yeah, that's a good example of what you would want to do. But if we're going for uh, a very little to none rate increase on the bill, average for the year, um, with our maximum environmental impact, lowering our carbon emissions, I would set it to 9.4. And that's pretty much it. The last thing we'll look at is preferences. Again, we're going to get some weird stuff with some alerts. So reverts and reminders. What are we reminding of? Oh, we need to do some inspections. We'll do that later. So these are, to go back, you go to the main menu again. We want to go to reminders and alerts and preferences for that. So the reason we want to adjust this is because, again, we're running this very different than the rest of the world. We don't want our thermostat harassing us every time. Hey, this is run, this is run. We're expecting our aux is going to run. So if we're here, we know it's going to run more than 3 hours a day. I would disable it in the most cases. If you don't mind getting the alert because it's helping you monitor how much your heat pump's running, then you would go accordingly, right? But I don't like special type of person wants to get that alert all the time. I would prefer to just do none, just because again the if you turn up the temperature, the heat's going to run, you get an alert, you get an alert, you get an alert. So disable is good, or just raise it up. So if it's a really cold day outside, it runs for more than 6 hours, you're going to get alerts. 3 is pretty low. We're expecting you're going to run it like at the coldest day of the year, you're probably going to run for like 24 hours that day. So that means when you get a cold snap, you're going to get this aux heat runtime alert every day. So that's why I would say disable it, but I would disable it. Don't care about humidity, nothing like that. The biggest one is that I like to do is if you're away on vacation and stuff like that, you'll actually get an alert on your phone if your temperature is dropping a lot. So this 10 degrees, I think is perfect. So if you get 10 degrees Celsius in your house, either means your heat pump's not working and your gas backup's not working. So at 10 degrees, we'll get that notification. Cool. So that's the Ecobee stat. Again, this is for Winnipeg, Manitoba, and this is in January 2026. So If you have more information, you can email us at White Ridge. We actually have an Excel sheet where it lays out what are the bills for electric compared to gas, and we update that formula whenever we have rate increases, and we know the exact temperature outside where our heat pumps are um, more economical to run versus the high efficient gas furnace. So if you want that information, send us an email at White Ridge. Email is admin@whiteridgehvac.ca, and we can show you where to set up your heat pump. So thanks again. Bye.